Bushfires, air quality and climate change have once again dominated headlines this week. Only yesterday, in fact, the Prime Minister acknowledged that climate change was actually one of the many contributing factors to those devastating fires we're seeing around the country. Joining us now to discuss Finance Minister Matthias Cormann and Deputy Opposition Leader Richard Marles. Good morning to you both, gents.
Good morning.
Matthias, I might start with you. The government, look, it's been heavily criticised by some parts about inaction on the bushfire situation. A lot of the focus this week has been on whether or not there should be some sort of financial support for these volunteer firefighters that are getting worked to the bone. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, obviously, we work with state and territory governments, and we believe that the national response to the fires has been very strong. We've obviously also provided additional support for aerial firefighting, and we will continue to work with state and territories, as appropriate, and we'll continue to provide additional support as appropriate.
What's your take here, Richard? I mean, is there a point now that we have to say, look, we know that volunteer, yeah, it's goodwill, but this is beyond a normal situation now?
Well, I suppose what we all hope is that this is not the new normal, but we've got a situation where we've had volunteer firefighters who have been in the field since August, that the fire season is now extending way beyond how we've previously understood it, and people are obviously giving an enormous amount of their time. We've been suggesting that there needs to be actually a COAG meeting on fires and emergency responses, so that we can have a look at how we do this in a world where there are new normals now. And it's very important that this coordination takes place, and issues such as this have a proper airing.
The other unavoidable aspect when we talk about the fires and the political links is the focus on climate change and policy to do with that. Matthias, a new global index has ranked Australia now as the worst performing country on climate change policy. I mean, it's not exactly a feather in the cap.
Well, I mean, we're one of a handful of countries only which is comprehensively beating our emissions reduction targets agreed to in Kyoto, and indeed we will be beating our emissions reduction target agreed to in Kyoto by more than 400 million tonnes, and indeed we are on track to meet and beat our emissions reduction target agreed to in Paris. And when you look at the level of investment in renewable energy, I mean, we're investing more than double on a per capita basis here in Australia compared to the UK, Germany or France. So, I mean, we are absolutely making a significant effort, but we're doing it in a way that is economically responsible.
Does that stack up? Are we beating Kyoto, and is that good enough?
Look, at the end of the day, these are junk stats that Matthias is quoting. I think if you're living in Sydney and you've seen smoke engulf the city for the better part of a month, if your kids aren't able to go to school because of that, if your work and fire alarms are going off because there's smoke in the air, I think you realise that something's going on. And people in this country don't think this government is doing anything about climate change because they're not.
Do they, though? Because they went to the election with a very similar policy on climate change and got endorsed there. I mean, how much of this do you think the public is actually buying into?
Oh, at the end of the day, I think people in the street absolutely know that something's going on with our climate, because something is going on with our climate.
And we're doing something about it.
But you're not, Matthias. I mean, the Climate Change Performance Index rated Australia down at the very bottom group of nations in the world who are acting on this. And fundamentally, your heart's not in it. There's a group of people...
That's just wrong.
But it's absolutely right. I mean, there's a group of people within your caucus, as you know, who don't even think it's real. But everyone in Sydney knows it's real.
All right, you guys could argue about that for years to come, and I'm sure you will. Move on for now, though. The government has announced changes to the regulation of tech giants. Ross was just explaining this one to us. It's in response to the ACCC's landmark digital platforms inquiry. Matthias, the government has given the ACCC new powers to crack down on the likes of Google and Facebook. As far as you're concerned, look, a voluntary code of conduct, but why not make it mandatory?
Well, obviously our preference always is for, reasonable people to sit down and sort these things out on a voluntary basis. But if that is not successful, I mean, we've been very clear, a mandatory code would follow. I mean, in the end, digital technology will become ever more important in our economy. We want the right protections for consumers, for competition. Fundamentally, we want to ensure that, to the extent possible, the protections available to consumers and to competition in the real economy should also be available in the digital economy, and that is what we're pursuing.
Could we be coming down harder here?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, firstly, it's taken the government forever to even have this inquiry. That's the first point. The ultimate outcome of it, Tom, is a whole lot of measures which are essentially voluntary. And right now we've got a situation where the question of how do you fund journalism is really live. When, if you're looking at a local paper like the Geelong Advertiser in Geelong, and I know how hard it is for them to keep their newsroom going, but they're watching advertising bleed from them into these new platforms like Google and Facebook, which are not paying for the content that is being generated by papers like that. And at the end of the day, that was the original impetus for this inquiry, and the government's not even accepting the recommendations in respect of public interest journalism.
Well, it's been nice to see a bit of sparring between you two today. Obviously, your normal sparring partner is away. He's on assignment in Ethiopia today, Peter Dutton. And this is actually our final Friday political segment for the year. Matthias, we appreciate you stepping into that seat that's normally occupied by Peter Dutton. He actually sent us a bit of a message.
Morning, guys. I'm sorry I can't be with you on the Today Show today. My spies on the program tell me that Matthias was just a little too eager to accept the invitation to be there in my place whilst I'm here in Ethiopia. Well, Matthias, it might have been easy for Richard Marles to knock off Anthony Albanese to be on the Today Show, but to you, my friend, I just say it's not going to be that easy. So thank you very much to all the crew, to the whole Today Show family. We've had lots of fun during the year. Thank you very much to Richard Marles. I wish everybody, including all the viewers at home, a wonderful, happy and safe Christmas, and I really look forward to 2020. And to you, Matthias Kuhlmann, I'll be back.
So Tom,
you can have it. 3 o'clock in the morning. I had to get up at 3 in the morning, so you can have it.
That's one job you're not gunning for. Nev, what do you make of his accent there?
I think he'll have to work on that a bit.
Can you give us an I'll be back? Just
yeah, I'll be back.
Thank you, Matthias. And what are you doing for Christmas? Anything special on the agenda?
Time with family, can't wait. I mean, I think we all need it. 2019 has been a big year.
Absolutely.
It's been a big year.
And Richard, yourself?
Yes, definitely time with family down at the beach, a part of the world that you know well. So on the Bellarine and the Surf Coast, really looking forward to it.
Yes, I'll be down the Great Ocean Road myself too.
Very
So
good.
looking forward to a nice little break.